Well, welcome everybody to this launch of Tom Ryan's book, The Reasoning Heart. And it's a great honour and privilege that we, ATF Press, have been asked to be the publisher of this book. And this is an exciting moment where we will speak about this book and have an opportunity to congratulate the author at the end. I ask you all to mute your microphones until the end when I ask you to speak. We will have Gail speaking, and then we'll have Tom speaking. So others, please mute your mics. Otherwise, we will then go onto the camera. So this is a very exciting moment, another stage in the process of this book coming to fruition. The book is now on sale through ATF Press, and it is also in distribution internationally, both in the UK and the US, and soon should be, if not already, in Amazon and Book Depository. It'll also soon be available not just in print, either soft copy or hard copy, but it'll also be available off our website and through our US distributor in both EPUB and PDF. So welcome all, and congratulations to Tom on the achievement of this now finally coming to fruition, and we congratulate him, but we also thank Ron for the work that he did on this book as well. And we welcome all confreres of the Marist and all friends of the Marist and all friends of Tom's who have joined us this evening. We also acknowledge Justin Taylor from New Zealand, who has been a great assistance to Tom in getting this book into production. And we also congratulate Justin, of course, for his magnificent work on this cut-down version of the short biography of Jean-Claude Collin, which is now officially launched, or not officially launched, but officially being distributed in English, French, Spanish, and Italian. And many parts of the world have already received it, and some copies were sent to Rome, advanced copies of the English, and they will be getting the other copies soon. And unfortunately, Justin hasn't received his because, of course, Auckland is in lockdown. So welcome all, and I'd invite Gail to speak first about this book. Gail, for those who don't know her, who might be watching this after this event for this evening, has been a Marist sister for many years, having joined the congregation in the 1960s, has held various positions within the congregation, both in Australia and internationally, and is now back in Australia, working in various activities. So I invite you, Gail, to speak about the book. So please unmute your mic. Oh, you've got your mic, yes, okay, go.
Thank you. I hope you can all hear me then. Okay?
Yes.
So good evening or good morning, wherever the case may be, and a very happy feast day to you all. It's my pleasure and privilege to be with you all at the invitation of Father Tom Ryan to launch his book, The Reasoning Heart. It is a book which I'm sure will serve to awaken and deepen appreciation of the Marist spirit and of Jean-Claude Collin. The book reflects Tom's rich experience of Marist living and ministry, his interests and expertise in philosophy, moral theology, spirituality, and psychology, and the academic recognition his extensive scholarship has warranted. In the book's introduction, Tom indicates that the book is about a handful of words and the man who said them. The handful of words: to think as Mary, judge as Mary, feel and act as Mary in all things. And the man who said them, Father Jean-Claude Collin. These words led Tom to question, how did Jean-Claude Collin understand and engage with these various aspects of personhood as a way of living as Mary? And he notes that is the question behind this book. In responding to this question, Tom highlights the significant contribution of various writers of the patristic period, including the Cappadocian Fathers, the French School of Spirituality, and very importantly, Saints John of the Cross, Alphonsus Liguori, and Thomas Aquinas. Other more recent thinkers and writers provide Tom with material to give further light to his own insights. And more recent developments in theology, spirituality, and psychology helped to provide a more contemporary perspective to his portrait of Colin. Tom also draws on the work and writings of a number of Marist confreres to elucidate his considerations of Marist spirituality and of John Claude Colin. Tom finds in Father Gabriel Claude Mayet's written record of the words and actions of Colin an abundant source of material for highlighting the makeup and personality of Colin. Of particular importance in the context of Tom's book is Colin's affectivity and feelings. Tom's treatment of the emotions, I feel, is a very significant component of his book, offering us understandings of the human person as made in the image of God. Together with yearning and desire, he shows that emotions and feelings have a substantial role in the spiritual quest. They are caught up in the symbol of the heart, the place where God dwells. Tom develops Colin's use of this symbol to refer to the person as a being of vision, affections, and feelings. He notes Colin's recognition of the integrity of a person's makeup, the collaborative relationship of intellect, will, and feelings. Further, Colin acknowledged and experienced God's grace, God's touch, mediated through these capacities. He tastes God, with the effect of God becoming, in Tom's words, the centre of Colin's universe. Everything then, Tom speaks, was judged in the light of his relationship with God and its overflow into attitudes, dispositions, and behaviour. It was the foundation and benchmark of the Marist project, of its spirit, its mission, to be the presence of Mary in the church in these present times. Tom outlines how Constitutions 49 and 50 in the Marist Fathers' Constitutions spell this out for Marists. He explores in this context the phrase to think as Mary, judge as Mary, feel and act as Mary in all things. He shows that the book's title, The Reasoning Heart, provides a compact rendition of this phrase. It's not only a metaphor for discernment, but also encapsulates a particular Marian way of life, as envisioned by Colin. A way of life that shaped and was marked by such virtues as compassion, mercy, humility, justice, self-denial, simplicity, joy, and hospitality. A way of life which is at the service of relationships, offering a respectful, affirming, enabling, and empathetic presence before the other. In 1995, the fourth non-government organisation Forum on Women was held in Beijing. Its theme was looking at the world through women's eyes. This theme of the forum in Beijing resonated with me. I had not long arrived in Rome as congregational leader. And I thought to myself, doesn't that say something of what we do as Marists? Look at the world through women's eyes. Yes, but we look at the world through a particular woman's eyes, Mary's. I was delighted to read in Tom's book a quote from Father Gaston Lessard, which echoes this. He says, "The Maris process is not placing Mary in front of me like an object that I try to reproduce, but rather I leave where I see the world. I stand where she is, and I learn to see things as she sees them." I suggest that Tom's exploration in the reasoning heart of what he names as the Marist axiom, to think, judge, feel, and act like Mary in all things, embodies what this means for and asks of Marists. So I have great pleasure in launching this book. I hope and sure you will each be nourished by it. We congratulate Tom and commend him for this valuable work. We are grateful to him and to Hilary Regan and the ATF Press and anybody else associated with this work for its attractive publication. And I thank you all.
Thank you, Gail. And I should have mentioned at the beginning of this that when Gail said about the Happy Feast Day, that of course today is the anniversary of John Claude's death. And I'm told by reliable sources online here that it's the 146th anniversary of his death. And of course, it reminds me that up until now, the ATF series with the Marists has only been really many of the Marist fathers who have contributed to this, and wondering whether at some stage soon we should have some contributions from the Marist women on Marist Women Speak, of their work or other aspects of this. So to move on, that's the challenge I'm putting to you, Gail, for the future. Having many of the contacts, as you probably would around the world, having been congregational leader. Anyway, I move on, and we now ask Tom to speak. Tom is known to you all as a writer and as a theologian and as one who has his hands in many pies in his work in the province. And so I invite Tom now to speak about how this came to be. And this is a very worthy contribution in our Marist series, which I need to acknowledge Eloise Greeler and others who have been involved in this series. And it's a very good series, which we are proud to be associated with. So Tom, I pass over to you.
Hilary, thank you very much. I'm audible, I hope.
Yes.
Okay. Gail, thank you for your words, and I feel you sort of put in a nutshell what I was trying to achieve in writing the book. I made a few notes as as a platform. Before I do that, though, there's one person on the screen I must acknowledge in particular. His name is Michael O'Connor. Now, Mick and I were novices together at Haydn in New Zealand in 1960. So we're going about 61 years, and we were the last of a group of novices with Con O'Connor, who had been novice master for something like 20 years. So Mick, I guess in many ways, what I've done in this book, in a way, is a tribute to Con, because I think looking back on him as a novice master, I think we were very blessed in the sort of guy that we had. He was a great human being, and he had a sense of what it was to be a Marist that I think we picked up. And I think I only appreciated many, many years later the value of what he gave us as our novice director. So I think that should be recognised at the very outset. I'd like to say thank you to a number of people in carry on from what Gail has been saying. Justin, in his opening to his life of John Claude Connor, talks about the Origine Mariste, fundamental source documents, as a remarkable collection of documents. And of course, they were brought together by John Cost and Gaston Lessard. And all that has been built on over the last 60 or 70 years since that project was initiated in the late 1950s. So I think anyone doing work in the field of Maoris studies, as far as the Maoris fathers are concerned, are deeply indebted to John Coste and Gaston Lessard. But I think also, in working in this particular area I was focusing on, that led me to go further to and finished up with this book, is what came out from Claude Gabriel Maillet, the French Maoist who was who with scrupulous honesty, as Justin says, wrote down and kept a record of about the first 40 years, the first 40 years of Colin's life. We are indebted to Maillet for having a record of that in what we call selections of it in a founder acts and a founder speaks, excuse me. We're very, anyone working in this sort of area is indebted to Colin, to Maillet for what he's been able, what's been handed on to us. I found myself looking back, and I read some of the stuff months after I'd written it, and I sort of couldn't quite believe that I'd written it. And I think anyone writing finds it's a little bit like that when you write things. There's an immediacy and a concreteness and a vividness in those excerpts that bring to light the real man. And I think if somehow I've been able to capture that in the way I've worked with them in the book, then it's a credit to them. And I think also to the translations that we've had from Anthony Ward in those two particular texts. He was a key person in that. Amongst the other cloud of witnesses, or crowd of witnesses, I suppose is a better word, building on those foundational Maoists, Justin himself, of course, is here today. Gaston, who is, I think it's 3 or 4 in the morning in Canada, so he gave even apology. I'm very grateful for Larry Duffy for reading original drafts and giving comments and encouragement. Also, Alois Greiler, in things that I'd written to him, he was of the same mind, encouraged me to keep going. And I suppose also too, these things only become about because we're part of a family, and therefore we are indebted to leadership within the family. So Tony Corcoran, particularly here in Australia, and at the general administration in Rome with these John Larson, our Superior General, and John Harhager and Ben McKenna, who I've been more close contact with in various interchanges over the last few months. Importantly, of course, as Gail has mentioned, to Hilary and to Gabriel Sequeira, and bringing the book to fruition, and the cover designed by Ron Nissen. And I think it's a very appealing looking book. When I sort of received it, and I was really happy with how it's got a nice feel and a nice look to it, which I think is important in the way a book is presented. It's also important to acknowledge my own family, and my own family is the community that I live with here at Maryvale Montbell. You can only do this sort of thing of writing, which can be a very lonely type of ministry, if you've got a good supportive environment, you've got a happy home. And that's very much the case here of the Maoists that I live with. And I think I want to acknowledge that, because I think the sort of work from this book, and I know someone like Jerry Arbuckle, who's writing all the time, would of the same mind, I think. Finally, as we've mentioned already, this is a fitting day to perhaps launch this book, and with the anniversary of the death of John Claude Colin, and as Gail has so well highlighted, that he devoted his life to God, and he did so with a particular approach to the experience of faith, which was following the way of Mary, putting on the mind and heart of Mary. And if this book and what we do in these studies helps to continue that, then we can only be grateful for what we've been given and what we may be able to hand on to other people too. So thank you everyone for being here this evening, and I'll hand back to you, Hilary.
Thank you, Tom. Now I'd like to open this up to anybody to make any comments, to say anything they would like to say to Tom about this publication, or to engage with what either he has said or Gail has said. So I open this up. You can unmute your microphones and go from there. I see some microphones being unmuted. Please say something if you would like.
Yes, I'll say something. Congratulations, Tom. You are a wonderful model for the rest of us in the way that you have kept going and diversified in so many different fields. Gail mentioned there psychology, philosophy, theology, moral theology. You've lectured, you've written, you've taught, and it really is a wonderful contribution. And I just felt in the last 2 or 3 books that you've written that it is all coming together in not in the form of a vast synthesis, but rather in terms of a very mature handling of different but related subjects. And I know the agony that's involved in writing a book. John Owens also, and particularly once you've got the thoughts off your chest, then trying to get it all into a form and go over it and over it and over it. So heartiest congratulations. You're a great servant of the church in Australia and further afield as well. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Please, anyone else? And thank you, Justin, for that. Justin, of course, is a veritable scholar himself and writer. And heartiest congratulations again on this mammoth task of cutting down 1,300 pages to 96 pages.
Could I say something, please? Mick O'Connor. Just want to offer congratulations to Tom on this year, which is our 60th year of profession. And I want to say that I'm really looking forward to reading the book. And I appreciate your comment about the Corner. I think, as you said, we were truly lucky and blessed in the formation that we had there. So well done. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I can see a few other microphones which have been unmuted, so please feel free to say something.
I could say something briefly, Larry Duffy here. Just 3 small points, but they're not in any way insignificant. I think Tom has done a tremendous amount of work in this book, and as Justin said, bringing so much together from his life experience and maturity in various fields. So he really deserves a congratulations for undertaking himself really this mammoth labor, because there's a lot of work behind this hidden as well. The second thing it just strikes me is that you've done something that we don't often do. You've brought Colin and the Marist tradition into dialogue with other sciences, with moral theology, with spirituality, with psychology. And you've provoked, in a sense, that tradition and stirred it up with a poker, as it were, to draw out even more and to see even more riches that are there, and you're expounding them and bringing them forth in new ways, which is really a particular gift, I think, at this time. And thirdly, I was struck by the depth of the writing. It's not a terribly easy book to read, in the sense that it's not sort of like reading like a novel. It's solid and deep. And I think many of the insights in it need pondering and integration into one's life, so that the profit of the work can be brought to fruition in one's life. So thank you very much, Tom. And I was privileged to be reading it as I went along and to make the observation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Larry, and thank you you were a wonderful help in your feedback. Thank you.
Sorry, Ron, listen to you from Sydney. happy to follow on from Larry. It was Larry Duffy in Rome 10 years ago who asked me on behalf of the General Administration to be part of the telling of the story of Father Colin widely. And I quickly came to realize that I wasn't the only one who could tell that story. Tom, your book is now part of this compendium of resources, which is telling the story of Colin. And so from that point of view, I'm very grateful to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Tom, Paul Sullivan. Tom, I was intrigued by the title of the book, A Reasoning Heart. Can you offer a few comments as to how you formulated such a succinct title and a significant title to the book?
The origins of it came from an article written by a Jesuit, William Spone, who about in the 80s, this was an area of interest of Spone's. He did his doctorate at Chicago Divinity School. And this was the area I think he researched, and the relationship between the head and the heart and the mind and the emotions in the moral life. And the article he wrote in Theological Studies was called The Reasoning Heart. And it was an article about discernment. And as I explained at the beginning in the first chapter of my book, I've taken that title, that phrase, and expanded it to mean more than just discernment, as a type of metaphor for an anthropology of the human person. So William Spone, who died some years ago, I'm indebted to him for that title.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to say something? Tony Corcoran?
I'll just, while you're thinking, Tony, I'll drop in. I haven't read the book completely, but I did read the chapter 7, mainly because at the moment I've been able to go into St. Patrick's for reconciliation each week now, now that we're outside the shutdown. And once again, I'm just amazed at the people who come from far and near, and the constant referral to the spirit in which the Marists exercise that reconciliation, the sacrament of reconciliation. And I believe it's really a carry on from what our founder spoke about in handling issues of forgiveness. And so thank you, Tom. I found that. I'll read it again, make sure that I'm carrying on the tradition, but St. Pat certainly has that marvelous tradition of accepting the spirit of and using the spirit of the founder.
Thank you. Thanks very much, Jim.
Tom, Gerard Hall here from Brisbane with Dylan. Obviously, I haven't seen the book, so I can't comment on it. All I can say, Tom, is I'm really looking forward to receiving it and reading it. And thank you very much for I think for a wonderful imagination actually to take on this task. I mean, nobody would have thought too much of linking Colin to moral theology and I know there's other areas, psychology and spirituality, that you deal with, but I'm really looking forward. So thank you very much for your work in presenting.
Thank you, Gerard. Thank you. And I should say to acknowledge Gerard for all the work that he's done in this area too, that he hasn't said anything about, but he's one of those crowd of witnesses, of course, that we depend on, and as Justin, of course, is amongst those, and would acknowledge that too.
Anyone else wish to say something? Okay. All right. Well, once again, it's a great honour that we have been asked to be the publisher of this book. It is another book in the Marist series, a very important series for us, and it's a growing series. We started off with a small volume on perspectives from Oceania from a conference a number of years ago, and then it has grown in other things. The book that Larry Duffy put together on, not Larry Duffy, from New Zealand did on Vergeer, and we have done other books. We have done Justin's book, and we have continued on this line. And so this is a very significant book for us in the series. And as I say, it will be distributed internationally. It has already been taken up by the province in New Zealand, who have taken a number of copies, and a number of copies have been sold to other parts of the Marist family internationally. So thank you, Tom, for bringing that to us. Thank you for this ongoing series to the Marists generally, and we look forward to other contributions. This book is available at our website, atfpress.com, www.atfpress.com, and I think it's on the homepage, so it can be seen there, as is Justin's book. The new book is there as well. And on our other websites, our Spanish website, we have Justin's book, and on our Spanish website has both the Spanish and the Italian versions, and on our French website we have the French version of the book as well. But thank you all for attending this evening, and as I say, this book is available at atfpress.com in paperback or hardback, and soon will be available off that website in EPUB and PDF as well. So thank you all, and if anybody would like to say anything before we finish, please do so. No. So there's
Hello,
Bernadette. Hillary, I'm sorry.
Yes. Sorry, I'm just wanted to say I haven't seen Bernadette for a long time. Just saying hello to Bernadette.
Hi, Jim.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
And to Larry and to Gail and to Michael, long distance away.
Just before we finish, I'd like to congratulate Tom on his work. I haven't read it, but I think I'm looking forward to purchasing it and reading it with great interest. Thank you.
Thank you.
And before I finish, I need to thank also the wider ATF family. Gabriel, who has been acknowledged, is our admin person and has done a lot of work on this book. We do our layout with the crowd externally from the publishing house. We have other people who do various aspects of the job, including our website. So there's always people behind the scenes who do a lot of work who need to be acknowledged, including our printer, Lightning Source, who are part of Ingram, where we have the great capacity to be able to, as I said earlier, print anywhere in the world. We can print in the UK, the US, and Australia, and from those places we can send books to anywhere in the world. So I need to acknowledge all of those people, but in particular, the work that has been done with Tom by ourselves, and Gabriel and others. And thank you all for attending this evening, and I wish you all well on this 146th anniversary of Jean-Claude's death.
Thank you very much.